All right, we are live and actually in house. Lean in here with Grumps. We're in the same room together for a change, and all I can say is that Grumps has, I think, has carried this episode for us. He has done a lot of research and brought a lot of information for us to share and talk about today. And Merry Christmas, Gramps. How are you?
I'm doing good. Merry Christmas to you and everybody else, or whatever holiday you celebrate.
Yeah, whatever you're celebrating, and Mazel Tov, whatever you say. I say, hey, sip of coffee. So, what have you been researching and reading about here lately, Gramps?
Usually, usual stuff. Cars mostly. Just looking up stuff. Well, I look a little bit of that. We'll have to talk about this another time, but I've been nibbling around the edges of AI, the chat GPT.
Yep.
Trying to learn how to do that. It's pretty interesting. So, but we're talking about falling apart cars today.
Yeah, and what's the first one we got on our list?
Tesla.
Yep. Let's let me drive. Get over here and start hitting the right buttons and drive. See, I got some screens I can put up for us to share, and let's get her going. All right, here we go.
Well, this was an article. I found it in Rolling Stone, but several other people have covered it. But the front wheels are falling off at speed, no less. Suspension's collapsing on brand new vehicles. Axles breaking under acceleration. And there's tens of thousands of complaints about these things. But naturally, Tesla says it's abuse. People out there hot rodding them more or less. But they're probably going to wind up, if not already, they're going to be in a lawsuit and getting some of this stuff fixed.
Right. And this gentleman up here at the top of this article was talking about how he was so excited. They were over the moon. He's an electronics engineer. He's in Cambridge, England. And when he says their exuberance came to a grinding halt, it came a day later after he bought the vehicle. It said 115,000 miles on the odometer. Jane told Reuters as he drove with his wife and 3-year-old daughter. He suddenly lost steering control as he made a slow turn into his neighborhood. The vehicle's front right suspension collapsed and the parts of the car loudly scraped the road and came to a stop. He said he could only imagine how bad it would have been if he had been at 70 mile per hour highway, which it could have been very catastrophic. It could have been a much more deadly accident. And what Reuters went on to discover, the complex repair required 40 hours of labor to rebuild the suspension, and 40 hours of labor to rebuild the suspension is a lot. That's a lot just to rebuild suspension. That's one man. Think about it. That's one man, 8 hours a day for an entire week. And that's all he did. And it cost $14,000. And Tesla refused to cover the repairs, blaming the accident on a prior suspension damage. And keep in mind, this thing had 115 miles on it. So, yeah, if they're not careful, they are going to end up in a lawsuit behind their cars falling apart. And speaking of cars falling apart,
that seems to be a pandemic in the automobiles nowadays.
Yeah,
epidemic.
Yeah, we have more recalls coming later in this live. But one of the things that Gramps found was on Toyotas and their recent battery technology. What was it? What was the key feature that they are working on? The solid state battery, but what was the main thing that came about that they're working on?
Well, they're predicting a 700 45-mile-an-hour range with only a 10-minute charging time. And if they do that, that's going to change the EVs. People might be more inclined to buy them if they can accomplish that. But
yes.
I wouldn't be surprised that it's coming. I'm not surprised that it's coming from Toyota preliminary, because they're always right there on top of their game. So I'm not surprised it is Toyota that's touting that. So we'll see.
If anybody can do it, it will be Toyota, in my opinion. They took the American automobile in late 60s, early 70s and completely revolutionized the automobile industry, in my opinion. They made every other automobile manufacturer step up their game. And it looks like they're poised to do that again. Let's read a little bit of this article. It says a solid state battery, as the name suggests, uses a solid electrolyte instead of liquid or gel that most EV batteries use today. The technology, which can only be found in some small devices, is less prone to overheating or fire, and that is the biggest fear of somebody with these new EVs. And we have seen the news reports, these things burning people's houses down. So if they're less prone to fire, it would be more, I think we could be, more assured and probably get people on board a little easier. And with a 745-mile range, I would be more inclined to look at it. In its announcement on Tuesday, Toyota said it discovered a technological breakthrough that overcomes the hurdles of durability that has held back solid-state batteries from being used in automotive applications. This will enable Toyota to accelerate the deployment of technology in both hybrid and electric vehicles. Of course, that's probably being a very closely guarded secret by Toyota until they release it. Together with improvements in aerodynamic and weight reduction, Toyota estimates that an EV with solid-state battery could deliver a range of 745 miles on a single charge. Well, actually, I think they said, I forget, here it is right here. When it comes to charging, Toyota said it is aiming for 10 minutes or less to charge a solid-state battery from 10% to 80% when using a DC fast charger. That's about half the time that the fastest charging batteries require today. Solid-state batteries will have much more range as well. So if there's anything good to be said about electric and EV and the technology, that is it. Because I'm not going to get in something that I'm going to be worried about whether or not I'm going to run out of charge on. I still think, in my opinion, humble opinion, that the hybrid is the way to go. Just because reasons. I like to have a little backup. What do you think, Gramps?
That's the only one that I will try to buy is the hybrid. I don't know if they'll ever be able to phase out the hybrids totally, get rid of gasoline totally, but the emissions should be so much lower on a hybrid. And I don't think they've calculated all the emissions from batteries, like digging up stuff, the materials. Now, if they go to a better, less destructive to the earth battery making, then it might be okay. But
that's like we talked last time, and Toyota is in the process of trying to recycle the different special metals and the different copper foil and all the stuff to help reduce mining and be able to recycle the present batteries that we have now. So,
well, Toyota was in America in I don't remember exactly when they first came, but they got really good toehold, around 1973 during the first oil shortage, when the gas was hard to get. And people started looking at, hey, this little car gets 40 miles to the gallon, 35 miles to the gallon, and they're driving these big old American cars with Buicks and Pontiacs and all the big comfortable cars. Well,
12, 10, 9.
But they when the gas started going up from 50 cents a gallon, which it was somewhere in that area back then, from 50 cents a gallon to $1.50 a gallon, that got people's attention. And they started looking at smaller cars, and Toyota was at the right place at the right time.
Right. And they had the best game in town, and it soon followed suit with Nissan and Honda and all the other guys.
Yeah, Honda came out with the first little car that didn't look much like a car. It was a little
clown car, what it was.
But worked out for them. But
Yeah.
like I said, Toyota was started back in around 73, getting a real good toehold. And then it just kept going, improving and improving and improving. So they got the reputation that they got now. It's a dependable vehicle, but even that's slipping a little bit. So, but they'll get back on it.
All right. Well, what was one of the other things that you had? You had looked at. There's been some reluctance on getting automobile dealers on board with boning up and gearing up to be able to sell, service, and take care of these electric vehicles. GM says it has bought out around half its Buick dealers. Dealers accepting the buyouts declined to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars to sell, service General Motors' future electric vehicles. How much was it? Let me see if we can find it. It was $300,000 to potentially $500,000 investment. This came from the Automotive Dive, which is one of the things I like to read. General Motors has bought out around half the Buick dealers that declined to invest at least $300,000 to service its future electric vehicles, the company spokesman confirmed in an email. Dealers accepting the buyout will no longer sell Buick vehicles, but they can continue to sell GMC Chevrolet brand vehicles, according to the Wall Street Journal. The buyouts came as GM significantly scaled back its EV rollout as the company deals with a weak demand, manufacturing delays, and a low margin on EVs. Buick has no electric models on the market, but plans to transform the luxury brand into an EV-only brand by 2030, which it's just 6 years down the road. This is something we were reading this, or we were pre-reading these articles and looking over this, and it says the investment by dealers is intended to cover the cost of installing EV chargers, training to staff, EVs, and other initiatives, according to the Wall Street Journal. Before the buyout, GM had roughly 2,000 Buick dealers. However, a GM spokesman told the Wall Street Journal that Buick dealers have made the this doesn't make any sense. This is what we were laughing about. Wall Street Journal told Wall Street Journal that most Buick dealers have made the required upfront EV investment. As a result of the buyout, GM said it will have around 1,000 Buick dealers left. So I don't understand.
They're going to reduce the dealers by 47%. Overall,
right?
And the ones that are there now, they won't be there anymore.
Right. So I guess of the ones that are staying, they're already ready to go with the EV, but it's the way this is worded that didn't make a lot of sense. But here's the other thing that we noticed. The Buick's first electric vehicle is expected to be available in 2024, with plans for an all-electric lineup in the U.S. and Canada by the end of the decade. All future Buick EVs will carry the name what?
Electra.
Mm-hmm.
An old name for Buick.
Yeah. Electra 225 used to be I think it was actually the largest vehicle in the American market, or any vehicle anywhere. And it was it 225 inches long? Is that why it got the 225?
I'm thinking that. I was going to check that, but I didn't. So it wouldn't be hard to look up and find out.
But I do know, I am pretty confident to say that the Buick Electra 225 was probably it was, I think, the longest vehicle made.
Yeah, you can make 3 or 4 cars now out of one of them.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it had enough steel in it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
They didn't use none of that wimpy 18 gauge stuff in cars back then, or plastic or nothing. They had some metal.
They had some metal in them. GM rival Ford has also revamped its dealer requirements to sell EVs after pushback over cost. Last month, Ford announced updates to its Model E EV program to make it less costly for dealers to become certified to sell Ford EVs. The revised program goes live January 1, and that helps us segue into our next story. Let's see if we can get this in right here. There we go. You had half of Ford's dealers still don't want to sell the electric cars and trucks. And I have a feeling it comes down to
nobody wants to buy them.
That's part of it. And the other part is the cost of investment in them being able to work on them. Says only about half Ford dealers are on board to sell electric cars. The automaker certification program can cost dealerships over $1 million. Some dealers aren't happy with the requirements like training and installing a charger. So if you're going to work on them, you got to be able to juice them up. Just over half of Ford's nearly 3,000 dealerships in the U.S. have opted out of investments necessary to sell electric vehicles like the F-150 Lightning and Mustang Mach-E. The Detroit Free Press first reported and Ford confirmed. Instead, some dealers will stick to traditional combustion engines and hybrids, which are soaring in popularity as Americans flirt with lowering their gas cost without taking the full leap. EV adoption rates vary across the country, Ford spokesman told Business Insider, as dealers have completed their own due diligence in their local markets. Dealers' enrollment for 2024 entry have stabilized at just over 50% of the network, which is around 1,550 dealers. This enrollment level places 86% of the population within 20 miles of a Ford dealership capable of selling and servicing EVs. Let's see. Company sold 16,000 electric trucks in the first 9 months of 2023, a tiny fraction of the roughly 570,000 F-Series vehicles it has sold in the same period. So they're only selling just a fraction of the electric versions as they are the traditional gas versions. The automaker has postponed a $12 billion, that's with a B, dollar investment in EV manufacturing amid the sales slowdown. It's going to take what we talked about earlier, the Toyota development of those batteries, to get people comfortable and on board with and buying these vehicles. Did you see, I think it's on Hoovie's Garage, when he went out and tried to do a real world tow test with a Ford Lightning?
No, I didn't see that.
The further he went, it was when he added the load and was towing, I think he got a total range of like 140 miles. And I think he actually stopped midway of this test and had to charge just so he could make it back home. In trying to use it in a real world fashion, it just did not have the range.
But I didn't see how it could, I've seen commercials and where they're towing camper trailers, and even though some of the camper trailers aren't that heavy, they're like a brick, like dragging around a brick. Got so much wind resistance, it's got to be eating up the battery. So I'm sure their range is drastically cut, but nobody tells you just how drastic till you get one of them. And you're making monthly notes on it, and you want to go camping. Well, you can go to your neighbor's yard and camp for stay there for a day or two, and then you get back home.
Yeah, right. Well, it was as a comedian I saw on, it was either TikTok or it was on Instagram, and he was talking about how he felt like the Audi dealership had lied to him, and he was out in Los Angeles, and they talked about, I think he had 250. I could be wrong about these numbers, but it was like 250-mile range, and then he started turning things on. He's like, well, it was a little warm. He wanted to turn on the air conditioner. Well, his range immediately calculated and dropped to like 190 miles. And then he wanted to turn on the navigation. And as soon as he turned on the navigation, well, it dropped another 20 miles. So everything you do in these electric vehicles takes voltage. So that is going to take away from how far you can go. All the things I can do in my 2021 Highlander, and I'm sure that, okay, maybe it does put a little bit more load on the alternator, but it is fractional compared to if you were all EV. All right. So one of the other caveats of having an EV, and it's coming for everybody who owns one, it is.
You got any live people over there saying hello? Shut up or be quiet?
I have not had any comments to date.
Okay.
Thanks for reminding me, Grumps. If you do leave a comment, if you are watching, go ahead and leave a comment. Tell us where you're checking in from. This is a Saturday before Christmas if you're catching us on the replay. But we were fixing to go to what was it? I was talking about something that's coming for you. The government, if you're not buying gas, well, you're not paying your road use tax. So we normally, I think it's like, is it 18 cents a gallon here in Mississippi? I think it was. I think it was 18 cents a gallon when you buy gasoline. That goes directly toward road use taxes. Well, if you're driving an EV, well, guess what? You're not buying any gas. They're not getting any money from you to fix the roads. So Grants found this story. It was out of Kentucky. Beginning in January the 1st, 2024, EV and hybrid registration fees will be charged to vehicle owners per their House Bill 360. This new fee ensures equitable contributions are made to the Kentucky Road Fund used for maintaining and developing our transportation infrastructure. And how many states did you say?
There's 9 other ones.
They're doing it?
They're doing it or got plans to do it.
All right. So it's coming. The free ride is over. For a new annual ownership fee structure will be $120 for electric vehicles, $60 for hybrid, and $60 for electric motorcycles. The fee will be due at initial registration at each annual vehicle registration renewal. So that means every year you're having $120 added to your vehicle registration. Or if you have a hybrid, it's going to be $60. Let's see. I don't think this tells us how many vehicles. I think that was in that other document we had. Additionally, but then we'll go ahead and read this.
I think it was 60 million.
No, it wasn't that many.
No, 60,000.
60. They have 60,000. They said that they have 60,000. Was it EVs or hybrids?
EVs.
I think it was 60,000, showing 60,000 EVs in Kentucky. So you do the math on that. But additionally, with this House bill, it's going to enforce a dealer tax of 3 cents per kilowatt hour electricity used EV charging stations installed on or after July 1st, 2022, similar to Kentucky's motor fuel tax. This will be added to charging station prices, contributing to the road fund. So not only are they going to be charging you the $120 a year, you're going to have a 3 cents per kilowatt when you're charging. It's going to go to the state. And of course, whoever your charging station owner is not going to pay that. It's going to be passed right along to the consumer. You will be paying
whatever card you got in there, they charge you, you're going to get charged extra.
Yeah, that's right. 3 cents per kilowatt. So we have got some recalls, and this is the most recent, and this is from carcomplaints.com. And I saw this one roll out just the other day. This was came out on December the 20th, 2023. And the Toyota occupant classification system sensor recall involved about 1 million popular Toyota and Lexus models. Basically what this is a sensor in the passenger seat that lets the airbag system know that there's somebody sitting there. And if it doesn't detect that someone's sitting there, it will not deploy the passenger side airbag. So there's potential for greater injury, somebody riding in the passenger seat, if it doesn't detect that there's anybody there. It says the sensors in the front passenger seat may not have been manufactured correctly and could cause short circuits. Toyota AC, they call it the ACS sensor, or in the Lexus it's called the OCS sensor, and it is probably the same thing. And it's 2020 and 2021. It looks like it is across all models of Toyotas. The Avalon Hybrid, Camry Hybrid, Corolla, Highlander Hybrid, RAV4 Hybrid, and Sienna. The only thing I don't see on there is their trucks. And of course, go across the wide variety of Lexuses. OCS sensor problem can block the passenger's airbag system from properly classifying a passenger's weight, causing the airbag to not deploy in certain crashes. Toyota didn't release any details about the occupancy classification system sensor recall, but vehicle owners should receive recall letters by the middle of February 2024 if your vehicle is affected. Of course, Toyota dealerships say they will inspect the OCS sensors and replace them if necessary. And if you have questions or comments about your recall, they give you some numbers that you can call. I would suggest that you call your local dealer, and they will. If you give them the VIN number, they can tell you if your vehicle is going to be recalled, more than likely. But they say in here that you should be notified by February. Moving along to more recalls. Let's see, you have the Honda fuel pump recall, and this is actually has affected and been a problem for Toyota as well. And for many that don't realize this is a Denso fuel pump, which Toyota is a investor and owner of Denso products. A Honda fuel pump recall involves more than 2.8 million vehicles in the U.S. and Canada. This fuel pump recall follows other Honda recalls to replace the same defective Denso pumps. So this is a recall that went out, I believe it was May of 21. I think it talks about that further down here in the article. But the Denso fuel pump impellers located inside the pumps were not molded correctly, which caused low density impellers. The impeller can absorb gasoline and deform, making contact with the body of the fuel pump. And if that happens as well, it's going to destroy the pump, and it's not going to make the pressure it should, and your vehicle could stall. And it looks like it is a wide range of the Acuras, ILX, MDX, MDX4 Hybrid, NSX, RDX, RLX, and TLX from 2018 to 2020.
2017.
Yeah, on one of them, yeah,
One-
it is. On the
one model.
NSX, it is 2017 to 2020. You're correct.
So
2017 and to 2020 was looks like almost all of the Hondas are involved.
2017
Yep,
Honda Pilot.
and there was
So
another
6 years.
Yeah, and
It can potentially be 6 years.
yep, and your Honda Accord. Let's see, you talked about this earlier. They've already had one recall on this, and now they're having to do another recall. There it is. In May of 2020, Honda issued a fuel pump recall and then issued another fuel pump recall in March of 2021. So this has been going on a while, and they have yet to get it all the way sorted out. Honda saw a trend of fuel pump failures in Japan and reopened the investigation in December. Honda announced fuel pump recalls in China and Japan for vehicles not previously recalled for fuel pump failures. Once all affected vehicles are confirmed, the U.S. and Canada Honda fuel pump recalls were issued. Since January of 2018, Honda has received more than 4,000 fuel pump warranty claims, but no reports of injuries or deaths, which that's always a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
So it affects 297,836 vehicles in Canada alone. Honda is offering a reimbursement program if you paid your own money for a Denso fuel pump repair or replacement. So if you've had that done, if you own a Honda or know somebody who paid to have it done, then maybe you can let them know that they might want to check with their dealer and see if they can get some money back. Replacement fuel pump modules have greater density and expanded clearance between the impeller and the fuel pump body. The accurate Honda fuel pump recall will be performed in stages as dealers gather replacement parts, which I will say that supply chain issues have somewhat gotten better. So maybe it won't take them too long to get this sorted out and fixed. Initial mailed fuel pump recall letters will be sent in February of 2024 to all owners. As replacement fuel pumps are available, owners will be notified when their local dealerships are ready to perform repairs.
Go back to that list of Hondas.
Okay.
Right there, just a second.
All right.
Okay. I was looking to see that my neighbor's got a CRV, but I think theirs is 2015. So
Well, I have a friend, and she has a Honda. What does she have? She has a Honda CRV. There it is. She has a 2018 CRV. I may give her a heads up on that.
I want to give her a call and say, hey, get hold of your dealer.
Yeah, you might want to see if your car's involved. All right. Let's go back over here. We're flying by the seat of our pants as usual.
Well, I was just going to make a commentary. I need to get my tinfoil hat on because this is strictly tinfoil hat stuff.
Okay. Well, you can do tinfoil hat.
I just was thinking about the dealers, the Buick dealer not wanting to make the investment and Ford dealers not wanting to make the investment, not wanting to work on them and using the excuse, well, nobody wants to buy them. And that may be true. And the government's taking away some of the incentives for people to buy the things. So if you want to keep getting some incentivized customers, it would be to your benefit to say, well, nobody wants to buy them, in order to get the government to put those incentives back in there. Try to force the government, because the government's the ones pushing for the clean air and yada, 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 which I understand. We all want to breathe clean air, but sometimes there's things that go on behind the scenes that we don't know about. And if people are losing their tax credits, they may be just making up a bunch of stuff saying, well, if we could get these tax incentives, we could probably sell more of them. Just like I said, that was my own tinfoil hat that could be going on. Maybe part of the picture.
Well, you really don't know what's going on behind the scenes and what's said behind closed doors.
Well, I think if they could get I really think if they could get the range worked out, where it would be just on the EVs that they would go, because I watched a couple of Jay Leno movies or YouTube videos about EVs. He loves EV, but I mean, he's got all the money in the world to keep him going. He's probably got all the chargers he needs right there at his shop. Got the fast, rapid chargers. So, but he loves them. And there was one.
Well, on that talking point, this is a slightly older article. While you were wearing your tinfoil hat, I let my fingers do a little walking, and let's see if we can get this to pull up. And I know you had shared an article, and we were talking about it last night about how the government is, I think it's some GM vehicles, maybe some Fords, I can't remember, but they were being removed from the incentive program because they had components in their batteries that were sourced in China. So they didn't, if they're sourced from a place, certain places, that removes them from the incentive program. The Treasury Department, but I found this article, it says the Treasury Department aims to make it easier to get $7,500 EV credit in 2024. And this, like I said, this article came out in October of 2023. We'll just hit the key points. The U.S. Department of Treasury proposed a rule on Friday that would make it easier for consumers to get a $7,500 tax credit for new electric vehicles and a $4,000 tax credit for used EVs. The proposal will allow all eligible buyers, regardless of federal tax liability, to get a full tax break. It would be a point of sale purchase discount from car dealers starting in 2024. Currently, those whose tax liability is too low may get a reduced credit or none at all. So what that tells me is you got to be making enough money to be able to get the tax credit. Thoughts?
No, it's just like I said, you never know who's playing the game and what kind of game they're playing.
Right.
Excuse me.
It's okay. It's the time of year. It's dry.
But it's supposed to be sometime soon, within the next few hours, to be really wet here.
Yeah.
In Mississippi.
Yeah, we're due about a 90% chance of rain. Starting tomorrow on Christmas Eve, it's supposed to rain all day. So it is what it is. Well, it is my thought.
Bad Santa don't have an electric sleigh.
Yeah. He's going to get electrocuted. But I am still in the mindset of sticking with the older vehicles, just strictly because of all the new electronics and stuff. Even on a gas vehicle, there's just so much electronics on it. Of course, I own one. I mean, I'm married. My wife likes to drive a newer vehicle. I don't blame her. I enjoy all the electronic conveniences of it. I'm going to enjoy it right up until it breaks. And seeing as how they're very difficult to work on as a DIY mechanic at home, we were talking the other day, and this is something we can share. and people may not know. And I'll go ahead and get it pulled up. Remember us talking about all data?
Oh yeah.
Talk about that a little bit. All data repair. A lot of people may not realize this, but what can they do? Let's see. Is it all data DIY? There it is.
Yeah.
There it is right there. That the average average owner can get access to
All data from just like a shop would have.
just like a professional shop would have, and get it to share as low as $3.61 a month. And it says when you select a 3-year plan. A lot of people don't realize that, but here you go right here. There it is. This is your you can get a one-time payment if you just want to use it one time and look something up, and it's $19.99, or you can get it for a year for $60, or you can get it for 3 years for $130. I have a feeling that when it gets time for me to have to actually work on this 21 Highlander a little more in depth, other than oil changes, air filters, and tire rotations and brakes, that I will probably be looking at an all data subscription.
That is per vehicle.
Yes.
Per vehicle.
Yes.
And is and you find out something certain for your car that it wasn't under. It was a SUV, but it wasn't under cars. It was under trucks, right?
You had to, exactly. So, like with the Toyota Highlander, it is officially classified as a truck. I don't classify it as a truck. It's a sport utility vehicle, and you would have thought they would have had a heading for it, but no. At first, I didn't think they offered anything for the 21 Highlander, and I think I just accidentally clicked on truck and was looking, and was like, boom, there it is. So
my reason I made that point was, if you get on there and look around, you don't see what you're looking for immediately. They got an email service. You can request write them an email and request information, or just look around on the site some till you find what you're looking for.
Stumble around like I did,
But it's the original. It's the stuff that they use in shops.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
see,
there used to be, and I haven't looked lately, but they used to have all these Haynes manuals and Chilton manuals,
motor manuals
that you could buy in a parts house, and the information on those were good, but this is next level stuff,
Right. You should be able to, and I don't know because I haven't used it yet, but I would imagine that you can go in when you get the you get this service, you probably will be able to print out like wiring diagrams, troubleshooting specs, and be able to take it to the vehicle. If say you have a desktop computer and you don't have a laptop or whatever that you can take out to the vehicle, but you can print something out and carry out to the vehicle to work on it as well. Because is it Eric O that uses does he use all data? You're not familiar with Eric O?
He does. I can't swear to it.
If you're not familiar with Eric O, and
if he's listening, he can chime in.
Yeah, chime in, Eric. Be glad. That'd be great. I'd love to have Eric on a live. Eric is awesome. If you haven't ever checked out South Main Auto, he's a mechanic's mechanic. He's the mechanic other mechanic watch. He and he really gets in detail. And as best I know, he's kind of self-taught. He's had friends help him along the way, and he grew up in the industry. I think his dad does and brothers do big trucks, and he does the automotive side. But that's a shameless plug out there for Eric O. If you never South Main Auto, if you've never watched his stuff, and he's a hoot to watch too. He's pretty funny. So, you got anything else, Gramps?
No, that's about it.
Yeah, Gramps carried us on this episode. He brought in a lot of good information today. He came up, and we got your list beside you. Hold up in front of the camera. He came in the other day and had this list, and we started going over it last night. And I
It's
started
all
pulling
upside down anyway.
That's all right.
And there's a couple things we didn't go over, but it's nothing real.
Earth shattering.
No earth shattering this week.
All right. Well, all right, everybody. I hope you have a Merry Christmas, and I hope you get to see your loved ones, and have a safe trip going over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house. So, what have I done?
Muted me.
No, there you are. You're back. You're
But it says I'm muted. My phone. You must have my speaker. Yeah, I'm using the other speaker.
Yeah, you're using the other microphone. Yeah, and you're buffering a little bit, but we're on mine. It's carrying us. All right. So what is it we always say before we get out of here, Gramps?
Keep it between the ditches. Keep the shiny side up, and y'all enjoy your family this holiday. No matter where you're going or who you with, be careful and take care of your family.
10-4. We'll catch you next time.